interior dining room day. A gay woman talks to another gay woman about gay shit. It's Oscar winning.
Fearless, write it down, all of your weirdness. Scratch it off, wipe away tears. It's me, my friends making appearance. 1, 2, 3, 4, it's the fear list.
Charlotte pushed back the meeting. So I am now watching her web series that she made in 2015. And I'm just fucking cracking up. Let's watch some more.
Be my muse for an hour. That's it.
Now what to do while I wait? I guess I can prep for the interview. Why would I do that? Why would I do that?
Just gonna go pee.
Hi.
Hi, cutie patootie. What are you doing?
Not much. I'm just hanging in my living room.
Just a couple knee slaps. And you know when you can meet someone and you're just like, oh, okay. So that's what cool is.
You're the shit.
Yeah, I've been lying to myself this whole time thinking I'm cool. But no, there's these people. There's Johnny Kitty.
That never happens to me, really, so I can't relate.
You don't think you're cool?
Hey.
Are you a yes man? You just said no to that question, so I guess that answers my question. And he was saying that there's like 4 different areas of personality, and one of them is agreeableness. And so you're either agreeable or you're disagreeable. What would you consider yourself?
I would say, though, that they're not qualifiers of each other. Like, you can be an agreeable person who still says no and puts their foot down to, like, situations that you're not comfortable with or when you think you're getting used. Like, I would say to do what I do and to do what other people do, you have to have a part of you that's very agreeable and a person who like wants to please everybody, like as a director.
You don't think it's a learned behavior, and it's like nature versus nurture, where like you may be born a agreeable person, but then you have to learn how to say no, or you can be born a disagreeable person and you can learn how to say yes.
I think I was born agreeable and I learned how to say no, probably. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I definitely learned how to say no. I mean, but the truth is, like, it's kind of interesting. Everybody learns how to say no at a different time in their lives and to specific people, you know, and like
also women. Dude, Amy Poehler had a quote, and I just quoted this yesterday. She said that it takes years for women to unlearn what they've been taught to feel sorry for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Sure.
Do you think that you say sorry a lot?
No.
Do you say thank you a lot? I say thank you a lot, like too much. Like one's enough, girl, stop.
Here's the thing, yeah. Here's the thing, though. My thing is, if I have no issue saying sorry, and I do think it's weird when people do have an issue to say sorry. Like, if I truly feel I've done something wrong, I'm like, I'm sorry. But I am of the mentality that I think if you say it too much, it loses its effect. Like, I know people and have friends who are always like, I'm sorry. And I'm just like, okay, you shouldn't always be sorry because what you just did is not something you should be sorry for. Like,
yeah, like she just bumped into you casually.
Yeah, it's
like, sorry, oh my God, are you okay?
Sorry. You're like, you're really good. But I don't know. I think it's important to be able to say sorry, but I think some women have like, they say it a lot, probably just out of, you know, the way we're raised to be like small and like feel bad for almost everything we do.
Yeah, not being able to take up your own space.
Yeah, definitely. It makes me really sad actually when I hear a girl saying sorry a lot. I always make it a point to be like, you don't have to be sorry, you didn't do anything wrong.
Right. But
and then they're always like, I know. They always do that thing, right? Where they're like, I know, it's just like a thing I do. And you're like, well, you don't have to do it.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because I think the same thing with self-awareness. Like, people can be self-aware about their faults or their bad things, and they still do nothing about it. That's like you're saying sorry, but then you're following up with, you already know that you shouldn't be sorry.
Right. Yes. Oh, well, that's the worst when you're dealing with someone who makes the same mistakes over and over. I mean, it just becomes like hurtful at that point, you know, because there's intention.
Right. I mean, I was talking to my therapist. I just started betterhelp.org. I just started that. Yeah. My podcast is sponsored by Anchor, which is the platform that I'm doing it on. But this video isn't sponsored by anybody. This is just something that I wanted to do, and I'm editing it all cute and everything. But Yeah, no, I was on BetterHelp.org, and it was my first session with the therapist, and we were literally talking about that.
Yeah.
So I feel like we kind of, it's so interesting because I talked to Dwayne yesterday, which I told you about, and we had like, I don't know, like 10 minutes of small talk, but you and I, we like instinctively went into podcast mode.
Yeah. I know, we were both like, hello, this is a show. We better be performing. No, but also we just did that one of the most annoying things that I hate when I'm listening to a podcast, which is like all this random talk and you can tell these people know each other, but you don't know what they know. Do you know what I mean? Like we just instantly click, and it's like the person listening is probably like, who the fuck is this other girl on the line? You know what I mean? Like,
No.
why do you care?
So I'm gonna edit it in a way that people know. It's even in the video. Like, but yeah, we do know each other. We go way back, actually, right?
Yeah.
I just realized something, that when people say we go way back, it usually means that they have some weird history.
It's true.
So,
True.
do you want to talk about our weird history?
No.
Okay. Okay, so
That's gonna be in the video, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I found out that I'm really good at making people feel uncomfortable, because Dwayne and I went on a date once too, before gay happened. All right.
Okay.
So, I'm going to start this off, even though we kind of already did.
Sure, yeah, start us off.
I'm going to start you off, girl. Don't worry. I got you. I got you. We're going to have no trouble figuring out what to talk about. Okay. So I started off by by reading my introduction of you.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, this is crazy.
Are you freaking out right now?
Yeah, I'm scared. This is where the fear comes in.
Oh no, it's like I have a podcast completely about fear or something. Like what? It's like in the title or something. Are your nipples getting hard? Mine are. Okay. Today's guest is, this is the wrong one. So professional.
Use somebody else's for me.
I was in the recently deleted notes because they don't matter anymore, bitch. It's all about you. Okay, today's guest is Charlotte motherfucking Kennett. She's beautiful.
No.
She's funny. She's vulnerable when she needs to be. She's everything you could ever want and more. And she's a writer-director based in LA. Also, one time I asked her if Los Angeles was like the L word, and I'm honestly surprised we're still friends.
That was the best intro ever. That was
Thank
so
you.
sweet. It was
Thank
very
you.
good.
Thank you. I feel like sometimes you have to try to be sweet.
You do. And like with something like this, you never know if someone's like actually gonna be nice to you. It's so weird. I do have that inherent thing where I'm always nervous, like about maybe, I don't know, like being made fun of or something, but that was such a nice intro, so thank you.
Is this like a thought process of being kind of afraid of being made fun of? Does that stem from anything? Were you bullied when you were younger, or is it just Los Angeles that's getting to you?
Oh yeah, I mean all of the above, right? Los Angeles is filled with bullies, you gotta really adapt. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, kind of, but but yeah, I mean, I've had times in my life where I've been bullied for sure, but I don't know. Maybe, I don't know if it stems from like I had a huge case of bullying, but I think I'm just aware of humans and how they sometimes like, they can just turn on you. So now we're getting really dark, deep, really fast, but I think I will probably always have a slight fear of like, putting yourself out there in a position where you don't fully know what's going to happen or how you're going to be perceived. And maybe that's also just like, my fear of like, we've watched even celebrities, like, it's just really easy to put your foot in your mouth and then say the wrong thing, right, too? Because, like, also, we all make mistakes, but it's also just about when you're exposing yourself on a platform like a podcast, or like when I go on anyone's podcast or anything, I'm always just like, there is a part of myself that's like, okay, make sure you're being thoughtful and like saying what you actually mean versus just like doing what you always do, which is the no filter,
Right. So there's a certain level of censorship that has to go into your public persona.
Totally. And that I'm totally open about that, because I think a lot of people who are like trying to have very specific careers are aware that they have to censor themselves to a certain extent. There's a point of view that's like, I'm going to go balls to the wall and be this raunchy, vulnerable self that I am because it's in my work. And I very carefully thought about how I want it to be perceived. And even if they perceive it the wrong way, well, fuck them. But then there's the other side of you that's like, someone might catch you off guard, right? By asking you a question or saying something, and then you end up revealing something, you know, and it's honestly like good. Like if that's a part of myself that is real, it should be revealed. But I just think I have these fears. I'm an overthinker. I'm always like in that place of like, I hope, because I have ADD too, and I grew up with ADD, talking so much. I'm sure you all can tell I talk so much. My mom can attest to that. She's still always like, whoa. But yeah, I'm just always nervous that I'm going to say something because I am compulsive and I've struggled with ADD and compulsive behavior my whole life. So I'm always on edge by myself because I don't trust my own brain. I'm like, who knows what the fuck she did?
Wait, so let's go back into the past for a second. Let's transform into the past. Let's step into a time machine. So when were you diagnosed with ADD?
Oh, when I was really little. Really? Like maybe like 8 or 9.
8 or 9. But how did they differentiate an overactive child, who just like is a child, to having ADD? What was the characteristics of that?
I mean, I probably couldn't tell you exactly what made them do it because I was so young then, but I think they were just thinking, you know, I can't focus in class. I'm not, you know, getting my schoolwork done. I'm falling behind. And I was erratically acting out like behavior-wise, like physically even. I would like moon people in the hallway. I would.
That just sounds like you.
Yeah. But that's the thing is, at the time, you know, for I think a parent or a school system, they're like, this kid cannot be mooning other kids or like standing on tables, throwing things or whatever. Who knows, right? I don't know.
This isn't fame. Like we can't just like dance on tables and show our asses.
In my head, I thought I could tap dance on the top of a table, and I thought, dang, you know, it was
and like, you can.
Now I know I can, but they took that away from me for a long time.
Isn't that just how adults work?
Yeah, they just are always trying to like suck the fun out of everything. And now that I'm an adult, I'm like, Charlotte, you're sucking the fun out of everything. You know?
You really think that?
Sometimes, like, don't you ever miss like who you were as a kid, and like you feel like as you get older, it's almost like you slowly get away from the id. You know what I mean? Like, part of your brain. Not to cite Freud, because fuck him, but you know what I mean. Like,
no, fuck your mother, right? No. Wasn't that a Freudian complex thing? Oedipus complex? Yeah.
Oedipus complex is fucking.
Well, maybe adulthood, back on the subject, maybe adulthood is just about, taking on your responsibilities and learning how to do that, but also returning to the childhood self.
Right. And I think that's like an ever-present struggle for any creative person, especially because in childhood, you have this surge of serotonin and excitement when you find out that you are a creative person. And I think a lot of parents look at that and go, that person has ADD.
That's dangerous.
Isn't it? Yeah, it's dangerous. And really, you just have like a young creative person. It's like creative people are so dangerous to like society until they're giving something that helps soothe a society that's damaged. You know?
Oh my God, I was literally talking about this to someone where it's like we idolize the 1% of artists that are famous, like Tom Cruise or something, but like the other artists who are just literally all they do is make art and live. Yeah, the 99%, we just turn our noses up at it as if like that's a terrifying thing. But as long as you're making money, a shit ton of money, like NBA player money, like then nobody gives a shit. But
in the Guggenheim or performing at Largo, they don't care anymore.
I don't know what any of that meant. I'm just here in my blazers and pajamas because I thought Charlotte was going to do the same. And we're just having a great time.
Dad, I wish I wore a blazer, but I didn't bring a blazer home.
So what made you want to come home?
So I still have my apartment in LA. Like, I'm still paying rent there, sadly. And very sadly during this time because I wish I just, like, was subletting or something. But I'm too freaky about my things to let someone else be in my room. Anyway, that's another thing, right? But
well, you had a nice room. I remember. Do you still have the same room? Yeah, you had a nice room. So I can see you get protective, especially you're kind of introverted, right?
I mean, I'm an extroverted introvert. People would say, I bet people would guess I'm extroverted, but yes, I'm introverted. I love alone time. I love my space and my things.
Right. If people get their energy a lot, especially in the industry we're in, where we're constantly having to be on, having
Yeah.
a really serene place that's entirely yours that you don't have to perform is so
Yeah.
important.
Totally. And like the other thing for me is like in LA, like my room is filled with basically all the possessions of my life because my mom was like, you have to take this. I'm going to sell the house. So I had to take everything that mattered to me in my whole house and bring it to LA with me because I was like, if I don't take these, there's a huge chance they'll get, sold or gotten rid of. So my room is just, it's almost like a relics, like it's like a museum of nostalgia, really. I mean, I look around it and I'm just like, that's 15 years old, that's 20 years old. I mean, my friends are like, oh, what's this shirt from, thinking it's ugly, and I'm like, oh, it's from my childhood. And they're like, Charlotte, do you own any clothes that aren't 20 years old that you're still trying to fit into? I mean, really.
So you're surrounded by the past version of yourself. That must be kind of hard for your present self to compete with.
I never thought about it like that, but it is possible. But I look to the past as like the greatest source of strength because I really did have a tough time coming up, and I think it shaped who I am, and I don't want to get rid of these things. And maybe I'm clinging to them for comfort, and and I'm not a hoarder. I want to say that. Like I'm like a small scale hoarder, right? But like I it's not like my room is over cluttered or whatever, but I just do find myself holding on to like very specific things that it would tear me apart to lose them. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
'cause
Well,
they
what's
do feel
wait?
like,
What is your favorite thing that you have in your room? Go.
okay, there's two things that come to mind, but the first thing, and I was actually thinking about it before I left because I was worried that my place might burn down with all of my things inside of it while I came home to New Hampshire, which is insane. And I
It's
did start
practical. That's practical. It happens.
things about that,
I'm enabling you.
And probably for me, it's the photo of me and my mom when I'm a baby in the same frame that it's been in since I was a baby. And it's like got all these weirdly like cut in mother and child, like wooden carvings in the frame. And it's like this super old photo. And I just know it was in my mom's house and I remember it my whole life. So in that same frame. And I think there's just something special about it. And I was like, Charlotte, why do you care about a frame? And like that could be replaced, but it's just, in my brain, it connects me back to my memory, which I have a lot of blackout memory because I did suffer childhood trauma. So for me, tangible items do bring me back to a certain time and place and do remind me of where I came from. And I don't know, it's just, it's important for me. And I've also like, I'm a very big believer in like, like that things and objects can hold memories, and there's like actually a lot of theories, like scientific theories about that, how you could put memories into like a book or something like that and leave it there, and then when you came back
Yeah.
scaffolding, and it's fascinating.
Wow. Well, also that picture that you mentioned, that's with your mother, and you have a very close relationship with your mother, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've been like best friends for forever. Unfortunately, we've gone through a little bit of a harder period the past year, and some due to some, stuff we won't talk about because it's a little too personal and shares too much. But I think, with a mother, you're always and your father. I mean, honestly, my father too. We're always in this weird influx of our relationship changing, the layouts changing, and how are we going to overcome the current situation you're in? Like with my dad, my relationship has always been a lot more tumultuous than it has been with my mom. And I have no issue saying that. So my dad and I have had moments where we really worked through a lot of stuff, and then we're easy gliding. And it's kind of like when the one shoe drops, the other lifts, because my parents have been separated since I was little. So it's just always been a dynamic of being in the middle, but also having these two very separate lives and having to compartmentalize them as such.
You're a Hannah Montana.
I'm Hannah Montana.
But you're Hannah Montana, but a child of divorce.
Child of divorce and abuse. It's amazing.
Oh, goody. I mean, I can just tell you right now, you are a strong cookie. And I knew that before all the stuff that you told me about your past.
Yeah.
You can just, I think strong recognizes strong.
Totally, and you're so strong too. Like,
It's
if
because of the
our
blazer.
viewers slash audience doesn't know that, you are strong. Not the strong V line, but Fenn is strong, y'all. She is like a tough, tough, tough cookie.
Oh, we are just tough cookies sitting in an oven waiting to get cooked. So yeah, I think I've actually done a really good job picking my guests, because it's been no trouble noticing the similar patterns we have, and
Totally.
that yet we've went through a lot, and we can say we have anxiety or depression, or in your case ADD, but yet it's like we're actively trying to not let those past traumas define our lives.
No, and they absolutely shouldn't. I mean, the good thing is in a way, if they do define your life, there's nothing wrong with that. You just build your life around what makes you different, and like what other people might say holds you back. It ignites your creativity, and it is your source blood for what you're gonna create.
Ooh,
So,
pain creates art.
unfortunately, that's true.
I mean, I don't think, if we could look back at all the artists like Frida Kahlo, like, did you hear about her, how she like she was in a bus accident and like a pole went straight up her hoo-ha and out her back or something? Yeah.
What? Dude, I never needed to envision that. I have a highly
Oh,
graphic.
so sorry.
Gosh.
Okay, duly noted. Will not tell detailed stories to Miss Charlotte Kennett. What's your middle name?
I have a very imaginative brain. Like, I just saw the whole thing.
Oh, well, I think a lot of creative people do, just they're visual learners, so of course they're gonna
Right.
just
Like,
see
the whole
it.
time you were telling that story, I was like, there's a bus. I'm seeing the bus in my head. I'm seeing Frida Kahlo sit on it, and
Did you feel the pain? Are you an
yes,
empath in that way?
yes,
You're
yes,
an empath.
yes. And I did feel that pain. And actually, when I used to live in Chicago and stuff, I used to like literally be sitting on the L and envision someone like getting up and stabbing me or whatever. And it was so weird. I would
Oh.
feel the pain when they stabbed me, and it would all seem so real until I was in like, and I was talking to my therapist at the time about it, and I forget what she called it, but it was something thoughts. It was like destructive thoughts or intrusive. Yeah, that's what it was. Because it's not real. And I'm pretty sure I'm aware that it's not real even when it's happening. But it's just like my imagination running all the schematics of what the worst thing is that could happen. Because I think I do live in fear. Like I'm telling you, like because of my various lived experiences, I do think I'm such an overthinker, worrier, and that definitely goes into some negative dark territory of like intrusive thoughts that are just
Well, it's one thing to have an intrusive thought, but it's another thing to feel the intrusive thoughts so realistically. Like I'm interested, because you're a writer, does that affect you when you're writing, because you're an empath, that you must, like when you're writing a difficult scene or something that you don't like? I know you're mostly in comedy, right? But so there's a linkage. But if you're ever writing a scene in general, it doesn't even have to be a dark one, like you must really transport yourself there.
Yeah, I do. And that's interesting. I actually have never thought of it that way, but I realize when I'm writing, I am always the character I'm writing, as if I have the power to shift into each character. It's almost like, yeah, you're just like having a different personality for that moment. And I feel like I'm there. I'm trying to describe it as if I'm standing there. And I guess you're right. It does probably feel like I'm there, and that's how I'm able to write it. And when something really bad happens to a character and I'm writing it, unfortunately, I do feel it, like, but not in the same way that when I have an intrusive thought, I'm feeling it. It's definitely a little bit more removed. It's more
because you get to control it, right? Like you control the situation.
Right, like
I think you are a really talented writer. I was watching Chapstick because you were late, and I was watching the first episode of Chapstick again, and I was just cracking a nut. Is that a phrase? Cracking a nut laughing.
You loved it?
I love your writing.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, I do. Because that was in 2015, it would be really interesting to see how your writing has developed since then. How do you feel like it has?
Oh my God, it's so much better. Like, I read writing now from that time, like when Chapstick or even right before, and I'm just like, Charlotte, you were a shit writer. Like, you were so bad, which is not good to do to yourself, but I know when I've gotten better and when I haven't, because you can just see it in the script. You're reading it, you feel how it flows, you feel how it sounds, you know if it's funny or if it's sad or whatever. But oh my God, yeah, I look at Chapstick and I just think amateur, which is cruel to maybe do to yourself, but I
But your
think
first episode is 100,000 views. Just so for your version of amateur is somebody's expert, you know?
that's
That's
true.
something to think about, because I think when people who do have anxiety, especially in a creative field, they have a tendency to self-sabotage, not just in their personal life, but in their professional life.
But that just shows people, and I hope anyone who's listening, that even people who are doing well, people you follow on Instagram or whatever, that you're like, wow, this person did something I always wanted to do. They're second guessing themselves and shitting on themselves just as much as you are at whatever level you're at. So like that could probably even translate, you know, to someone who's much, much larger than me, like a celebrity, and
Much larger than you? Like
much
just
actually physically larger than me. Like they're 7'8". But yeah, like I don't know, I'm sure everybody just has like these moments, but when I say amateur, I don't mean, you know, how widespread chapstick was, because chapstick blew beyond my greatest expectations. Like I don't think I ever went into it thinking eventually it would have over 100,000 views on the pilot, and if I had, I would have done a better job. But
isn't that how it works when you don't try getting ready? People are like, you look so great,
so
and then when you try really hard, people are like, they say nothing. And so the same thing goes with creative projects, you know?
It's crazy. But now it's like I'm so proud of that, but what I mean when I say that is more like the filmmaking style, right? Like how I went about post and the sound and stuff. Like it's okay, but in my head now I'm like I could do so much better. So like, because even like camcorder videos, right, to me something old that could get 1 million views on something, right? But it's like I can still look at it and be like, that's amateur comparison to where I'm at now, you know? And I love chapstick. Honestly, it's the thing I still am the most proud of. Like I hope eventually soon it will be replaced, that I'm the most proud of this, and I actually think my next project that's in post will overshadow everything I've ever done. But
I'm so excited.
chapstick's so cool, like because it was my first baby, and like I made it for no money, you know, and that just shows you can make stuff for no money and have it reach people if you really care about it.
Oh, absolutely. Like on the subject of, because Chapstick is an LGBTQ plus show, do you specifically make LGBTQ plus content?
I do, yeah.
You do. Well, thank you for your service, first off. Second off, how does fear play into that? Because, you know, LGBTQ plus content is in the minority. It's not the majority. People aren't actively pursuing it. I tried looking at shit on Netflix of all the LGBTQ plus stuff, and some of it was not of quality. So it means there's not a lot of people either making it or not brave enough like you to make it. Do you have anxiety before it or after it when you release it? What's your play on that?
So yeah, I think I have a little bit of anxiety when it's being released, and really only then, because I know there will be some hateful comments, or I know some people are not gonna like it or agree with it. But yeah, I guess when I realized I was coming out and that my mission of being a director and writer and like content creator / showrunner is that I don't want to make stuff that doesn't mean anything and isn't uplifting the group that I'm part of. So if I'm going to make something, it's going to be predominantly gay, or it's going to have, you know, an LGBTQ character somewhere in it, and likely at the center, because I've never made anything that's not gay. I mean, I'm like trying to think like the past, like everything I do, music videos, everything. I'm always like trying to find a gay artist to work with or something. Gay, you know, because I care about that, because it's like there's so many straight directors out there, so many straight white everything that are just, they're taking care of those categories. So where are the people taking care of the categories that are marginalized? So we need more people. We need more, like, you know, women of color directors. We need more, and we need them to not be afraid to like push their content. Like someone, actually I met Issa Rae right before I released Chapstick, and when I was creating Chapstick, as she came to Columbia where we both went to school, and I remember asking her about Chapstick, and I said, I'm about to release this show, and it's gay and it's a comedy, and I know you did Awkward Black Girl and it's so good, and now it's going to be Insecure, and we watched the pilot before anybody else. Like, it was so cool. We got to watch the pilot at Columbia, and she was there, and we got like 10 minutes to ourselves where we were talking, and she was just, and I'm sure she wouldn't even remember me, right, because like she's so big, right, but she was just like, you just have to do it. She was like, even don't be precious. just do it. Like, even if you're not sure about an episode or you think it's going too far, just release it, you know? And I think it was the best advice that I had gotten up at that point, because I was just like, if Issa Rae is telling me this is what she did for Awkward Black Girl and look where
then
she
you
is,
should do it.
then I should do the same.
Yeah, my friend's grandma says, look before you leap, then leap anyway.
Yeah.
Especially in stuff like with LGBTQ plus, where you just really don't know how people are going to react. Obviously, there's a community for it, but and especially if you have anxiety on top of that, right? So, like, is fear on top of fear. What's your relationship to anxiety?
To fear?
Yeah, to anxiety or fear. Yeah.
Sure. Gosh, I definitely have anxiety and depression in different varying things, but I am high functioning. So this past year, actually, I dissociated for the first time in my life. And it was one of the most terrifying experiences I had ever had. And I couldn't believe, like, some people do this every day or every couple of days. And I just, I was going out of my mind, truly. And
Charlotte, you're frozen. Oh, we are experiencing technical difficulties with the Fearless podcast. Right when she was about to say something interesting. I mean, she's been saying interesting things all the time. Charlotte, you're frozen.
Home for me in order to feel better. Did you miss that?
You were completely frozen.
Oh, no. But did you hear it?
No! Oh my God! This is a problem with this Zoom thing. Let me make sure.
Zoom is tricky. I don't mind repeating it, though.
Perfect, please. Thank you.
Why don't you just re-ask me the question and I'll tell you?
I don't even remember anymore.
You asked me about my relationship to fear and
hot. Okay, yes.
And anxiety.
Yes, you should have seen what I was saying while you were frozen. It was pretty funny. Okay, all right. So yes, Miss Charlotte Kennett, what is your relationship to fear and anxiety?
Okay, so I just did this just for the audience.
No, don't tell them. Let's start over. Okay. Serious. Wait, let me put on my serious glasses.
I should get mine as well.
Yeah, dude, we're just gonna cut to this and they'll be like, what happened? Okay, so Miss Charlotte Kennett, what is your relationship to anxiety? Sorry, you look so funny. You look like the lead singer of a indie rock band.
Maybe that's what I am.
Baby, that's what I do. That's what I do.
That's what I do. Don't get it twisted.
Wait, what is that from? Isn't it?
From right now.
Oh, you quoted yourself just now?
I just made up a line. Yes, I quoted.
Dude, we are monetizing that. We're putting that on t-shirts.
Love it. But anyway.
Okay. What is your relationship to anxiety?
Okay, I definitely have anxiety / sometimes depression. I'm lucky because it doesn't follow me around in the day-to-day, but I am high functioning, which is really scary and dangerous because I do sometimes realize how high functioning it is, but that it could crumble at literally any moment.
Meaning that you know you have anxiety, but you don't notice it, like you're trying to ignore it. Is that what you mean by high functioning?
Yeah, I just push through it basically. Like if you look up about people who are high functioning depressives or anxiety, it just means you steamroll through what you're feeling, and then it builds and builds and builds basically until it all crashes around you. So it's you never know how long it's gonna be until it all crumbles again, but it's a good time while you're hiking the hike, And I dissociated for the first time this past year, which was super scary. It had never happened to me before, and I was just so, I don't know. I just was I cannot believe people go through this a lot. Or
where were you when it happened? What was happening? What triggered it?
I have no idea. That was the weirdest thing. Is it just kind of started, and that's the thing is maybe at the time I could have said what triggered it. Oh, I think it was stuff with some family stuff and just being really scared and freaked out by just certain things in my life. But I literally was just outside of my body, and every moment felt like this weird 3D pixelated thing that I was removed from. And I was just terrified by it because I was like, I just want to be in my body. And I think that's really what dissociating is you just so badly want to be in your body again, see the way you normally see, and interact with people in a way that you're not constantly thinking like, why the fuck is my reality shifting, you know? And it felt awful. I mean, it lasted like multiple days, and I went up
Multiple days?
yeah, multiple days. I went up to the woods because out of LA, I left LA because it was that bad. I was like, I just like can't be here. I couldn't even like have conversations with people because I thought like something was so wrong with me. I was like, I was like praying. I hoped it would go back to normal. I was like, I hope I get normal again. I kept thinking in my brain.
Because you didn't know if you were in like in the middle of a psychotic break or something.
Right. It was terrifying. Truly, I've never felt more scared of my mind in my life. And so then I talked to other people who had dissociated too. And I mean, oh my God, some people dissociate kind of a lot. And to hear that from people, and I haven't dissociated since, which I'm very thankful for. I want to thank my mind for, like, oh my God.
I wonder if disassociation is a byproduct of being a high functioning anxious person, because if you're constantly not sitting in the anxiety or at least acknowledging it, then one day shit's gonna hit the fan.
Absolutely. And I think that that's possible. So I think I have now learned that I need to like address things when they're not feeling as good. And I just need to like get back into my routines of, you know, working out, meditating, doing like yoga if I can, you know.
What do you mean if you can?
I mean, like, it takes a lot for me to go do yoga, but it's like one of those things where it's like, I'm going to go do yoga, you know?
Oh my God, I can't even imagine that culture in Los Angeles too.
Yeah, and it's like, everybody's like, what do you mean, like, yoga? And you're like, yeah.
We're going to do a yoga class, and then we're going to go to a Pilates class, and then we're going to get a green juice, and then we're going to go see a stand-up comedian, and then when we get home, we're going to do cocaine.
Yeah, all that made the cocaine okay.
Yeah, as long as your entire morning and day is you preparing for the cocaine in healthy ways, that's all that matters.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't know. My journey has been weird with mental health, honestly. And here's the thing: is I know at other points in my life it will probably break and be different than it is right now. And I just have learned I have to accept that my mind and life, they're always going to throw things at you. But if you can be as healthy as you can be, healthy in the mind, body, soul as you can be, I think that's the best prepping you could do. It's like prepping for the end of the world, right? Like you have to treat your
especially
body.
with anxiety. People literally feel like they are prepping for the end of the world.
Right. I mean, you're grabbing, your canned goods. You're grabbing your sleeping bag.
Your toilet paper. Oh my God. So you mentioned something about being on a journey. Like, so on the other end of anxiety, I guess the polar opposite would be self-confidence. So what's your journey been to self-confidence, and has been living in LA and being in like the hustle and bustle, has that helped it or hindered it?
Oh my gosh. What a question, Kitty Fenn. Are you the next journalist of our time?
Dude, I'm getting better because yesterday I was like, I was good, but like I wasn't as good. I'm learning. I'm wearing a blazer. I'm wearing a blazer, guys.
Fire today. Geez. My journey with self-confidence has been pretty crazy. God, it's like such a loaded question because you just think about your whole life. It like all flashes before your eyes. I think I've always been pretty confident. That might sound shitty to say. There have been moments where I've been heinous and I've still been falsely confident. So that's how I know I've always been confident.
I am not afraid to say that I have no idea what heinous means.
Heinous means ugly. Like,
you think that, like, as in, like, your confidence led to being ugly? Like,
yeah. Like when I was the ugliest I ever was.
Bitch! Like, when were you ever ugly?
Oh, I was so ugly in middle school.
Miss, I was a model.
Oh, but that happened after. That's what you have to understand. I was so ugly in middle school, and like not in the generic like ways. Like obviously people like have like I'm a firm believer that everyone's beautiful, but it comes down to what you think of yourself, right? Like I was going through a rough time. I had fucked up my hair. I had cut it really bad. I had dyed straight lines of bright
skunk lines.
I had just figured out I was blind, so I had these ugly glasses that were brown and they looked like poop, and I had braces, and I was pretty overweight, but not that that's a bad thing, but I would wear clothes that didn't look good being at the weight I was at. And I just really was struggling with my overall aesthetic because there was no aesthetic. I looked terrible. Like, I look at pictures and then I would still go up to guys at school or people and be like, hey, like, you want to go out? Like, I had this confidence still because I thought I was like an attractive kid in elementary school or whatever you think in your brain. Like, I'm okay, I'm cute. And even in my, worst time, I was still thinking I could net whoever I wanted,
Well, so I actually, I think this makes me like you more because I don't trust people who've always been consistently hot. I had an ex who couldn't make an ugly face to save their life. And I knew that because he was never ugly.
Yeah.
Maybe a little chubby, little baby fat.
Right. No,
but
there
never
was
ugly.
a moment in time where I was ugly. Yeah.
Doubtful, but yeah, okay, keep going.
I mean, if you really want to show the viewers, we can pull a picture.
Oh, I'll do some due diligence. I'll try to find it through your Facebook tags.
I try to delete every remnant. And something else I want to say is that I've struggled with my weight a lot. Like, my weight ebbs and flows. And at this point in time, like when I was at my absolute heaviest, which if you watch Chapstick, in season 2, I gained tons of weight, and it's because I was having a hormonal imbalance. Like, something was going on in my body. No one could figure out what was going on. I was gaining about 5 pounds a day every day for what was it? It was like 3 months. So it was insane. I would stop eating. I was still gaining weight. I wouldn't even eat anything all day, and I'd weigh 5 more pounds. So it was like a really scary time that really tested my self-confidence because like Kitty said, I was a model, unfortunately. I'm a retired model, as I like to say. I like
how you said, like Kitty said, like I'm not in the room.
Like, you're not in the room. Get out of here.
In the chat room.
I'm just saying for the viewers, I'm just thinking about the viewers. But yeah, it's like
but that must have not helped your mental health at all either.
Oh no, and then like my dad, I got all these huge stretch marks all up the side of my body, and I remember I was wearing a swimsuit and I was home for the summer and I was out in front of my dad, and my dad said, Charlotte, what are those? They look like a lion scratched both of the sides of your body. And I just remember it made me feel so bad because they did look kind of bloody because they were red and fresh and very big, as if you've ever had really bad stretch marks. And I was just mortified. I had a really hard time falling in love with my stretch marks. But now when I see them, I'm just like, you're a powerful person and they're beautiful. And I've lost a lot of weight now. Not that that's important, because even at my highest weight, I loved myself and I thought, you're still beautiful. You're still a beautiful person. And even if you stayed at this weight for the rest of your life, which you won't because
oh my God, you froze again. Is it me or you? Hold on, folks. You froze again. Is it me or you? That's the question. That's how I like to end relationships. Is it me or you? No, I was kidding.
I'm on my Wi-Fi and I look good, so I don't know.
Me too.
Then what's going on?
I mean, I also looking on a different level of things.
You look amazing. You look amazing.
Thank you. Are we flirting?
No.
Okay, on that note, so I have one more question for you.
Sure.
Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
It's the thesis question.
Oh my God.
Did you read the info packet? Girl, why did I spend all this time making an info packet for my guests?
Because I thought when we were texting that I got all the information. Is there like a thesis question I was supposed to read?
No, but it just like I like being prepared.
It's the question of like if you could do anything.
Yeah.
Right? Is it this question?
Yes, it is. It is.
Oh, I did read it. I did read it.
Good for you. Good for you. I hate the good for you when I say good for you. It sounds so patronizing. Dwayne Murphy Jr. yesterday was talking about the Black Lives Matter movement, and I said good for you, and I genuinely meant like good for you. That's like you're protesting, and I just like caught myself going, I'm not sure that's gonna translate well. But see, that's also anxiety. When you look back, especially when we're in media and we get to look back through our content and think, or especially in the editing room for you. How does anxiety work in the editing room for you?
I mean, you're always anxious about, what you're creating. I mean, currently I'm in post right now on my next big thing, which is Psycho Baby, which is a proof of concept for a feature film. And it's a dark queer comedy. And oh my God, being in post on this project, it's 25 minutes, and full 4K footage. It's a monster, it really is though. It's like, it's been something else to go, especially during quarantine and a pandemic, to be away from my editors and having to do everything remotely has been such a challenge, like in a good way too. It's like I'm learning how to talk and speak differently and ask for, and just like really be a better leader in like situations where I can't always be right there. But yeah, it's hard, and you have anxiety. You're always like, I hope this is going well. I hope people are I think you're just anxious about the end result and hoping that everything you're doing as a director is gonna lead to the culmination of a great overall piece. Because like right now I'm working with my composer, and then I'm talking to my sound designer, and then I have my main editor, then I have a trailer editor, and it's just, you're doing all these things and you're scrubbing and you're like, and you're just hoping that everything's going to come together the way that it should. And you never really know if it will until it is. And then you're like, oh, I fucked up here,
Yeah. Well, hindsight is a beautiful thing that you only get after you could have used it. But you know what? I need to ask you the thesis question.
Ask it.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. If you could truly live fearlessly, what would you do?
Is it bad to say that I would be doing this?
What, this podcast?
This specific podcast.
For the rest of your life. The fearless Fenn and Charlotte Kennett. Okay, we'll work on it. We'll workshop it.
I don't know. I that's such a hard question. To be honest, there's so many things I would love to be doing. You know what I mean? I'm one of those people that, like, if I could create 5 of myself, and one of them would go try to be a politician, and one of them would be an entrepreneur, and one of them would be like try to be a Broadway actress, as hardcore as they could be. I would do that because I like so many different things and I'm fascinated by so many different things. But being a writer and director has allowed me to kind of dip into different people's realities, because I love so many different realities and so many scopes of work. But to be honest, like, I think I am living as fearlessly as I can for right now. Like, I am creating like LGBTQ content. That is my mission. I hope to always do it. I hope it only grows as far in all the ways. But I mean, I was scared at the time to be like, I'm going to label myself as this thing, and people are going to know I'm this thing, and then I'm going to be this thing. And even if people don't like me or don't like what I'm doing, I'm going to have to, stick to it and abide by what I've created. And it will always live on, as we know, anything you put on the internet. I'm in the space of, once you put something on the internet, it never dies. And I'm a person that's always trying to put things on the internet. So it is kind of scary to think about, but fearlessly, it's hard. Like, I think we're all doing our best to live fearlessly and to go after the things we actually want. But yeah, I would have never moved across the country away from my family and all the things I love if I wasn't doing something that absolutely terrified me, that I thought maybe could lead to an end result that I would be really happy with,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you lead by example by living that kind of fearless.
Yeah. And if it changes, like if I don't want to do this someday, or I wake up and I'm like, this isn't what's fearless to me anymore, this isn't what's getting my juices going, I do think I'm the type of person that I will pivot and do something else that will scare me again, that I will be reinvigorated by, because I think that's what life is about following the thing that scares you, follow the fear, and to just really go for anything that gets you excited. Because if you're not feeling excited and alive, then you're probably wasting your time at whatever you're doing, because there's something else that will make you feel that way.
Absolutely. You will have so many dreams in this life, and you can't be afraid of any of them. And that's why maybe you can be a Broadway star. Maybe you can be a writer director. Maybe you can be an astronaut, all in the same lifespan. If you believe it. Yeah, who knows? And I'm talking
crazy enough to be like, okay, now pivot. I'm an astronaut. I'm going for NASA. You
Okay,
know,
maybe not the astronaut thing,
Maybe
because I
not
think
the
there's a lot of schooling, and I don't like schooling.
yeah, you're right. There's probably that's not gonna happen. But you're so right. Like, also our lives are so long too, right? Like that. If at 40 I feel like I'm done with trying to like do this, or maybe I've amounted to something, maybe I haven't. Who knows? I might shift either way to doing something entirely different. Maybe I'll want to own a farm at that point.
Oh, that is such a dream.
That's such a dream,
Such a dream.
and
Yeah,
maybe
success changes, and we have to accept that it changed, just like how the world's changing. And right now it seems like the world's changing a little drastically, in a lot of ways anxiously, but the world changes as we have to go with it. We either go with the current, and we go against it.
Right, and you have to go with it, otherwise you're going to have a very uncomfortable ride.
Wow, I love that.
LOL.
Don't say LOL in real life.
Wow.
LMAO. What?
I love when you're genuine. It's so sweet.
What do you mean when I'm genuine?
When you're like, I don't know. It's like when you're like, like, wow.
Are you saying that 80% of this podcast is me not being genuine?
No, you're being so genuine, but you're like always inherently, like me, gonna be a bit of a performer, a bit of a laugher. We deflect, we make jokes, and I think there's nothing wrong with that, but it's definitely us protecting the most vulnerable side of ourselves, So when I see you be really vulnerable, I love it, but it almost like makes me laugh out of like, oh my God, it's so sweet, uncomfortable, like this person's being vulnerable. You know what I mean? And maybe when you see me being super vulnerable, you're kind of like, I know that piece of shit Charlotte, and it's crazy to see her be super, you know what I mean? There's like,
well, I said wow because I liked what you said, and I'm a words person, and I like writing, but you absolutely like hit the nail on the head. That's exactly why I wanted to start this podcast in general, because we need more vulnerability in this world, and in the positive kind as well.
right.
So thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you, Kitty. This has been so nice.
Wait, you go.
No, I was just gonna say I talked a lot. I wish like I could interview you. If you ever do one where somebody else can interview you, you should let me do it, because I would love to interview you and have you be like the center, because your audience deserves to know who you are too. And you have a lot.
They will. And you're so right about the performing thing. Like, I was thinking about this yesterday because this is new territory for me, and I was thinking, oh my God, I don't smile that much in real life.